Deleted session, November 26, 1977. Good evening. Now you know generally how associations work in your own mind. Simply bring memories or images to you out of context. That is, not following the usual patterns of time or cause and effect. You know also that your own previous memories in this life are all available to you at other than conscious levels. You read without remembering learning to do so. The days or hours spent in school are consciously forgotten. The experiences are utilized constantly, however. Your performance as you read is the result of that forgotten learning process. Associations are highly personal, bring together in thought and in dreams highly individualistic constructs in which actual events and the fantasized ones come together. In Framework 2, those freer associative patterns are everywhere potent. The associative processes of the world, with their literally infinite capacities for creative constructs, are there available. Your world is first of all a mental one. The organization of Framework 2 is then highly associative. If you try to get a feeling for the vast sweep apparent in your own private associative processes, you might perhaps gain a slight glimpse of the interworkings that occur when those associations mix and merge with the associations of other individuals. The potential for the creation of events is so staggering in number, and yet out of those highly personal charged associations spring the specific concrete events of experience. The connections among such associations cannot be followed from the standpoint of intellectual logic, for those associations are first of all emotional. Some are more charged than others because of culture and religion. An apple may remind many people for the Garden of Eden or sin. The apple can be used as a general symbol in that way. In deeper terms, however, an apple might be associated with a cellar, a kitchen, a still life, a death, a birth, or with a million other items or events, according to a given individual's own chain of associations. All of that is known in Framework 2. There, personal and word associations form their own kinds of patterns. There, your thoughts are as actual as physical events, for the physical events could not occur without that inner activity. You have conscious intents. These act as your directional signals. They automatically pull to you what you need from Framework 2, drawing out all of the associations that you need in order to have certain events occur. Your intents in Framework 2 will automatically attract those whose own intents will correspond with your own plans in whatever way. The same is obviously true for others from these standpoints. Loose lines, so to speak, or loose mass for action, or patterns for action begin to form. This kind of interweaving occurs constantly, so that no relationship of the minutest kind exists without it. You were quite correct. It was no coincidence, for example, that you heard after Bill McNeil just after the Burke Ryson story, the Spain connection with your friend, the traveler, Carlos, and with the question of foreign translation of the books. These are obviously many patterns, some prominent and some subordinate, but they all work, often invisibly adding up to seemingly coincidences. Ruber discarded that instance. You see, I want to make the point, however, again and again, that physical events spring from mental events. Ruber has been worrying rather than concentrating upon his creative work. Neither of you have moved mentally, even playfully, ahead in terms of imagining what you will do. Ruber's fantasy that I mentioned, that was an attempt. The imagined motel trip, a beginning, a mental move. I suggested you imagine a vacation. Neither of you have done so, though Ruber did make a few attempts. You must move mentally, and you will move physically. Ruber Ruber thought of the seminar, or at least of seeing some such people, but then became discouraged. Nor have you helped in that kind of creative endeavor, Joseph, though you have, of course, in other areas. You have faith in your work. You use framework 2 beautifully, both of you, in that regard. Your intents insert plans for action in framework 2. Ruber has had some results. The difficulty with walking physically now is caused by the head and neck areas, which are being relieved. Physically now, tension causes the head and neck difficulty. The eye problems are, as I gave them, related. Let me give you something perhaps more specific. Your remark about doing the dishes and Ruber's subsequent use of the stool led to the breaking up of associations earlier connected with dishes. It allowed earlier pleasant associations to rise to the surface instead. That made possible some further physical relaxation, more pleasant thoughts, and gave him some breathing space. As you begin to make mental plans for a freer future, the same kind of events happen. Events that before seemed impossible first of all seem perhaps possible, or you can see that you can indeed be carried out right now to some extent, in perhaps a limited fashion. Your mental world becomes freer. That freedom induces physical improvements. You must be free in your imagination. You must learn to reinforce each other's faith in Ruber's constant improvements, as you have encouraged each other's faith in your own and each other's creative abilities. When Ruber feels blue, he does of course show it. Yet he is still worried that such moods will weaken your own faith, and the same applies to you. Your thoughts are far more important than any physical act in terms of changing a situation, for only your thoughts will allow you to do so. I would like Ruber to make a red star each time during the day he finds himself thinking pleasant or optimistic thoughts, and a large one each day or time he feels a strong surge of faith or exuberance. The gain, of course, is to get as many stars as possible and to improve in that respect from day to day. He is not to count the negative thoughts, for that is not the kind of concentration we want. This station is highly important. You make mental plans for your creative work. You are both highly reluctant to change your mental habits, much less your physical ones. You have no idea of the creative potential you are missing. The idea of a night in a motel easily accessible on the ground floor, even with dinner in your room, is a beginning, out of all proportion to any events involved. That particular event or fantasy, nipped in the bud, is simply an example of the way that you nip such possibilities even in your imagination. I mentioned hypnosis before. A concerted, enthusiastic, united response from both of you did not of course occur. Simple self-hypnosis on Ruber's part, just to induce physical relaxation, would also be of excellent benefit, because it would mean he was willing to induce relaxation. Now, for all of that, Ruber does have his intent clear. The body is responding, but not in the ways that you necessarily think it should. You recognize improvements, but you do not see him working better, and you are not pleased, either of you, with his vision, though it shows that great activity is going on, and that there have been improvements there also. If you have faith, you will not question the means or the process. The questions, of course, add to further tension and inhibit your mental creativity about the condition. I want you to become enthusiastic about my red star exercise. I feel that I must explain to you from A to Z my reasons for initiating it. I must tell you that it can help in a new organization mentally break down some negative associations and so forth. As you allow your mental creativity rein in this direction, you automatically bring into play exactly what is necessary to make such creativity practical. You have been afraid of the enthusiasm that you have both felt at different times. When you do feel that way, immediately tell the other. Concentrate, remember those feelings of faith, and encourage them in the other. Your upbringings have made you think that pessimism is a more practical response, and it is indeed, if trouble is what you are after. Take your break or end the session if you prefer. Rossett will take the break. She said, physically there is nothing wrong with Rupert's body except constantly applied tension, partially caused by negative habits of thought. Loving massage can be of excellent benefit because of what it implies on your part, because of touch, which is important, and because of a certain assurance or reassurance that you can indeed give on another level on such occasions. In such an atmosphere you bypass, or can bypass, conscious layers that are anxious and communicate a biological and spiritual comfort. Before, you did not have sufficient faith to be of much help there. You do have latent healing abilities, however, as per a probable self, and in connection with your medical drawings. This will be helpful at your present stages, where earlier both of your attitudes would have stood in the way. You have been united in so many pursuits, however, and used your creativity together. There is no reason why you cannot do so in this regard. You definitely double your benefits when you add and united moments of faith together. Your framework 1 exercises, however you do them, done at the same time, increase your effects. Reading your statements together in the morning is a case in point, end of session, and use it. My heartiest good wishes to you and a fond good evening. Rossett OK says thank you.